Hello and welcome to the 9th Scouching Report for the 2020 NHL Draft. Today we're going to be looking at Tolpar Ufa winger Alexander Pashin, most recently ranked 22nd among European skaters according to NHL Central Scouting. Pashin was a very high-level MHL player this season with Tolpar and had earned himself a promotion to not only the VHL, but a couple of games in the KHL. And while a bit of his weaknesses were exposed at the KHL level, the raw tools that you're working with Alexander Pashin, even considering the fact that he's only 5'7", leads me to believe that if he's available anywhere in the second round, he might be one of the more interesting home run swings you might be able to take in that area of the draft. So if you've never watched a Scouching Report before, the way that we break down a player is we look at 5 separate categories: think, move, get, pass, and shoot. Within each one of those categories, we give the player a number and a letter grade, where the number represents the overall tier of talent I saw in that trait, and the letter indicates the overall consistency I saw around that tier across the 7 games that I tracked. So to start off, we look at the think category, and this is where things might start a little murky with Alexander Pashin. He's an undersized player, and he is small with some of the disadvantages that come with being a small player. But when I look at undersized players, something that I'm really looking for is that sense of drive and determination and a real motor behind him. Alexander Pashin certainly is one of these players. He plays with tremendous amounts of determination. He can have mental lapses here and there in terms of floating around too much in the defensive zone, abandoning his defensive responsibilities, but at the end of the day, you're drafting him to be an offensive player. He supports teammates well and keeps cycles going, which is really promising to see for a winger, and that's something you're going to need to see every single shift. While Pashin to me might be one of the best pure skill players in the entire draft this year, I find that he suffers from a situation of trying a little bit too much too often. He can be too patient with the puck. He can skate himself into a situation where at his size, he's not going to get through it. And he doesn't have quite enough skill to play at such a high level that he can go into those 1-on-2 and 1-on-3 situations and often come out the other side with control of the puck. He's a great skater with tremendous skill with his hands, but there isn't that last 10% there yet with him. And a big part of his future is going to be unlocking that remaining 10%, or if he's going to be a player who might take less time to make a quick read and make a quick play in a playmaker's role. But it's not all downsides with him. He's an extremely creative offensive player in almost every sense of the game. He's equally threatening with and without the puck, passing the puck, shooting the puck. He's a really dangerous offensive player, and I think there's tons of potential to unlock with just the natural determination and the skill that he has. So in the think category, I'm going to give Alexander Pashin a 2C. I don't necessarily see an extremely high-level thinker at both ends of the ice here, but it's not all that bad. I think most of the time he's a competent defensive player, especially when it comes to just covering the defensive zone of the ice for a winger. But in the offensive zone, the downsides are that he can try to do too much on his own stick and be too patient with the puck. And away from the puck, I almost found him looking for open space a little bit too much. Rather than pushing towards the front of the net, he'd rather wrap around behind the net, stick to the perimeter, and you can get away with doing that, especially for being a smaller player. But making the proper read and going to the net when the situation presents itself, especially in a league where there's tons and tons of shots from the point like the Russian Junior League, I think more offensive production could come from that for Pashin. But he is a fundamentally sound player at both ends of the ice most of the time. Next up we go to the move category, and this is an area where Pashin really stands out to me. Sometimes watching these genuinely undersized players, you can get tricked into thinking that they're faster than they actually are. These players really need to be moving their feet and be really agile on the ice in order to evade bigger players and more physical defenders. But with Pashin, he is small and fast. I clocked him blue line to blue line in 1.55 seconds in the MHL this year. That is no small feat for someone so small. He's got unbelievable hands to go with that as well. The guy is just a speed and skill demon, and that leads me to believe that there's a lot of potential for this player. There might be a really low floor, but I think that with the natural skill, the natural speed, and the age that Alexander Pashin is and has, I think at the end of the day there could be a really skilled offensive forward here one day. One interesting part about Pashin's game is that outside of Marat Kuzmitinov, in all of the tracking work that I've done so far this year, Pashin has the most offensive controlled zone entries per 60 minutes at 5-on-5 with 51.3. And if he loses control of the puck, which did happen a little bit more often than I would like to see out of a player, a lot of the time he would just chase down the defender that blocked him off, he'd get the puck back and continue an offensive cycle. So that's another trait that leads me to believe that for such an undersized player, there might be a lot of potential here. Again, I'm looking for players that don't give up on the play, especially wingers, and Pashin is one of these. So in the move category, I'm giving Pashin a 1C. He can fly a little bit off the wagon here and there and abandon his defensive zone coverages, chase breakouts a little bit too much, but at the end of the day, he's a guy that's chasing for offensive offense, and that's why you put him out on the ice. He's a tremendous skater with really good agility, and the skill is really palpable. He has the real potential to absolutely embarrass defenders at the next level if all goes well. And while he can get knocked off pucks a little bit easily, which is pretty normal for someone who's 5'7", he uses his determination and keeps his feet moving to track that puck down and attack the defenders as they try to turn the puck back up the ice. He can also cut into dangerous areas for passing attempts or shot attempts, which is really nice to see, and there's a really nice profile to work with moving forward for him. Next up, we have the get category. I'm going to give Pashin credit here. He works really hard. There's a lot of determination here, but if you're drafting Alexander Pashin, you kind of have to be aware of the limitations that come with a player like him. He is small, he is a little bit slight on his feet, he can get knocked off pucks, and away from the puck, sure, he's quick, but those couple extra inches of reach can mean the difference between a controlled and uncontrolled zone exit, the difference between a dangerous pass attempt being completed or cut off in the middle of the ice. And it is apparent that away from the puck, you're at least not going to be able to rely on Alexander Pashin to drive extremely good results. But that doesn't mean he's incapable of playing away from the puck. In close quarter situations, he still has extremely quick hands and an extremely quick stick, and he can retrieve pucks quickly, evade pressure, and while he can get knocked off pucks, he's often not selfish and takes the puck with him. He tries to find teammates on his line that he can get the puck to continue those offensive cycles. He can sneak up on opponents using his agility pretty well, but you're not going to find him pinning guys against the boards tremendous amounts. He can throw his weight around, and I did see it a couple of times, but I think at the next level, you're not going to see that as much. In the defensive zone, away from the puck, he can get pushed out of the way a little bit too easily and be mitigated in his own end. And with Tolpar, I found in the offensive zone, they were deploying him as a really aggressive forechecker, trying to chase down breakouts before they happen. In the neutral zone, I don't see a lot of involvement in transition, likely because he's pinned so far in the offensive zone, which might be why there's so few defensive zone transition numbers that I tracked. But at the end of the day, you're drafting him for his offense and his speed and his skill. His play away from the puck is admirable, but I would not really call it good. So in the get category, I'm giving Pashin a 3B. I have to give him credit for his determination, but his size and his strength, or lack thereof, will probably be roadblocks for him to overcome long term. I don't think he's an incompetent player defensively, I just don't think he's going to be a great defensive player if he ever makes the National Hockey League. I think he could be a National Hockey League player in the offensive sense, and at least pushing transition play positively with a lot of skill and a lot of speed, but in his own end, he's probably going to need to be deployed with some more competent, bigger defensive players that can actually shut down those cycles more effectively. Next, we go to the pass category, and here's where the fun really starts with Alexander Pashin. Simply put, I think Pashin has the potential to be an absolute wizard with the puck in the offensive zone. He is extremely silky with his hands in transition, with tons and tons of skill on display all of the time. He can make passes standing still or at full speed in transition and create dangerous chances that way. He can pull up and look like he's about to take a shot before finding a teammate in front of the net and trying to get the puck there. He can be both patient with making passing decisions, almost to a fault, or he can make quick passing decisions when an option presents itself. He's a really dynamic thinker with the puck, and I think there's a lot of potential with his passing game. Another notable metric is that he completed 75% of his passes, which is pretty good, but 20.9% of his attempts were to dangerous areas. Those two things combined are a very good set of metrics for a winger in terms of driving offense. And like I've said a couple of times already, he can be a little bit too patient with his passing decisions. He's going to need to realize that pressure is going to come quicker, and that means that his passing decisions are likely going to need to be made quicker. And if he's not going to decide to pass the puck, he's got to get his feet moving and get to that top speed that he has if he's going to escape that pressure. So in the pass category, I'm giving Pashin a 1D. There's a lot of potential here with him. I think if his decision making can get a little bit tweaked, if he can either get more skilled or stronger on his feet, or preferably both, this might be even better down the line. His pass percentage was rock solid, but his dangerous pass percentage was very high. And I think at the end of the day, you could end up with a very good perimeter playmaker here. He has the agility to cut into dangerous areas, but he's going to need to pick his spots a little bit better. There were some passes that kind of missed the mark, a little bit of laziness here and there, but that's pretty typical in this league, and I think you can iron that out over time. And you cannot ignore the upside that Pashin showed in the games that I tracked. I think there could be a very good potential playmaker here eventually. Next, we have the shoot category, and this is another really good positive part of Pashin's game. All around, Pashin is a very notable offensive threat, whether it's with a pass or with a shot. 55% of his shot attempts came from higher medium danger areas, which for a small player is pretty notable. He's able to get to those positions and at least try to get shots shots off. And I know I've said 55% in the past is mediocre, and that is true, but Pashin is getting 12.5 high and medium danger chances per 60 minutes. That is second only to Lukas Reichel in my tracking so far. So overall, you're looking at a package where there's a player here who is getting to medium danger areas a lot and getting his shots off from there, or even closer in higher danger areas. Of all of Tolpar Ufa's shot attempts while he was on the ice, he took 34% of the shot attempts. He was both a primary shooting option and a primary playmaking option in the offensive zone, and that to me is very notable. And of all of their shot attempts while he was on the ice, 15.9% of them were him from higher medium danger areas. That is also pretty remarkable that you don't see with every prospect I've tracked this year. So while I would like to see Pashin show that skill a little bit more and carve his way right into the high danger areas of the ice and really show off his skill right in tight with the goaltender, I do think that he's getting dangerous chances plenty. And going back to another part of his game that I do really like, if he's getting shot attempts off that are blocked or deflected into other areas of the ice, he battles really hard to at least try to get that puck back and even get second shots off. I saw that happen a couple of times. He battles for offense, whether it's making a play or shooting it, and I really think there's a lot to like about his game moving forward. So in the shoot category, I'm giving Pashin a 1D. He's got a quick shot and he gets tons of chances from medium and high danger areas of the ice. He was a primary shooting option on his team, and I think there's a lot to like about this part of the game for him. I don't think he's going to be a top-level NHL sniper one day, but I do think once in a while you're going to see some very nice shots from him that go top shelf. So to wrap these videos up, we look at the best part of a player's game, the good part of a player's game, and the not so good part of a player's game. The best part of Alexander Pashin's game is the combination of speed and skill that's there. He's a quick skater with a tremendous amount of skill to go with it. Those are two skills that, especially for smaller players, I look for constantly, and he has it in spades. He's an exciting player to watch that I think fans will really like if he ever does hit the NHL. He's got tons and tons of upside, and I guarantee that if he were 2 inches taller on paper, he would probably be considered a lock for the first round of this year's draft. He can use his mobility to find open ice and support teammates, and I think all around with his speed and skill, there's a really nice package to work with moving forward for Alexander Pashin. The good part of his game is his all-around offensive talent with the puck. He's an equally threatening shooter and playmaker, which is something you don't see every day. And this part of his game was so much fun to watch for me that it's almost interchangeable with the best part of his game. And if you combine Pashin's dangerous passes per 60 minutes and his high and medium danger shot attempts per 60 minutes, he generates what I would call more danger than any other player that we've profiled in video format before. And the only two players who beat him when you combine all of those metrics together in all of my tracking so far is Jean-Luc Foudy and Danny Gushchin. So when it comes to generating dangerous chances offensively, Alexander Pashin does it constantly. So while it may not translate completely when he goes up to higher levels, even if those numbers decline a little bit, they're still very notable, and I think that if you can get this player later on in the draft, you might find yourself a really nice offensive piece down the line. The not so good part stems from something that I don't think he can really fix, which is his size. He can get knocked off pucks too easily, and there are situations where he's too patient with the puck, gets himself stuck in a corner and unsure what to do about it, he ends up losing possession of the puck. So if he can balance his passing, shooting, and skating decisions a little bit better, there could be a lot to like here. He's going to need to work within the confines of his frame, but I think he's perfectly capable of doing it. So I do think that this is a player that will have some liabilities around the ice that you're just going to have to live with in order to enable his offense to its most potential. I think there's a lot of positives about Alexander Pashin's game, but the negatives are real negatives. It is harder for small players to play in the National Hockey League, but it is not impossible, and I feel like Pashin is one of these players that can buck that trend. It just might take a lot of time and patience for him to figure out that balance and how to make those quick decisions that can really help him evade those high pressure situations where he can get knocked off the puck a little bit too easily. So overall, I'm giving Alex Pashin a 1F. There is just so much to like about Alexander Pashin's game. To me, he's a first round pick, and I'm not really afraid of his size. His skill, his passing, his shot, his ability to drive offensive transitions, it's all there. Yeah, he can be a bit of a defensive liability. I'm not denying that. But sometimes life is about trade-offs, and what you're getting in Pashin is a lethal offensive player who can both pass and shoot it with the best of them. He plays with tons and tons of determination and keeps his feet moving as much as he can. If he loses control of the puck, He doesn't give up on the play. He fights to get it back. He's got a great stick and can sneak up on defensemen and steal that puck right back and get it to a teammate. There's just a lot to like about his game, and if only he were just a little bit bigger and a little bit stronger, he could be a real get in the NHL draft this year. But there is a lot of risk as he is right now. He's got skill that to me is really hard to find, and if things go right and he hits his ceiling, he's a guy that's going to put bums in seats in your arena. He's a lot of fun to watch. He won't be in the NHL next year. He won't be in the NHL next year. It's probably going to be a few years before he's in the NHL, in fact. But I think if you're patient and you're willing to let him make his own mistakes and learn from those mistakes and rely on his positives more often than trying to fix his negatives, I think this could be a really interesting player in a couple of years. So that's all for this Scouching Report. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, you can click all the buttons you see below me so you never miss another one. If you really enjoyed it, you could subscribe on Patreon, where you get access to data sheets for hundreds of drafted and undrafted prospects, exclusive data visualizations, merchandise discounts, and plenty of other goodies. Or you could get some merchandise from the Scouchwear shop, where 50% of all profits go to the Women's Sports Foundation. So that's all, and thanks for watching.